Welcome to the apex of sports ownership, the Apex Athletic Collective.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 24 of Instigate Success. This is Jake Schoen, Jakey Muffins. I am here with you for episode 24, and I think it might just be myself again for tonight. But we have some stuff to go over here tonight as well. Some of it might be a recap from last week. If you were watching last week, we had a shortened episode with the holidays. Last week, we did not play a game. We had a little bit of a holiday break, so everybody got a little bit of a rester as far as our players. So I'm hoping they come out this week off of a nice week of rest and some time with their family. And I hope all of you that are watching had a great holiday as well. So this week we've got the Ohio Kings tomorrow, actually, at 3 p.m. We're back in the Clinton CRC. So we're excited to be back home. This is, again, one of our games in that stretch of home games we have coming off of our long stretch of away games. So we'll have this game to wrap up the year. And then the first three games of the 2024 year, all January 7th, 14th, and 20th, we will be back at home in the Clinton CRC. So we're excited to be back in our home venue for this 5-game home stretch. And we're looking forward to seeing all the fans come out again to see the Hoosier State Instigators. We're also running the same promo that we have in the past. Children 12 and under are free. So we really appreciate everybody that comes out to the games, especially the children. One of the cool things that we've done at the half times of all of our home games is we let the kids go on the court, and we've got some pretty good ballers. I know Spacely's commentated some of our half times with the kids on the court, but yeah, some of them are pretty good ballers, possibly future instigators. And we let them go out on the court, shoot around. And it's just a nice way for us to kind of like give back to the community, kind of build a better relationship with our community as well. So we're really appreciative for all the support we get from them. But we're really looking forward to that game. And if you missed our announcement from the previous, I believe, week or two ago, I think I've still got the announcement up here. We did have a little bit of a change behind the scenes go on. So this, again, I stole from when we officially announced this. So it says yesterday. It is not a post from yesterday. This announcement was made, I believe, it was before the holidays, so a week or two ago at this point, following our last game. So the Instigators and Coach Matt Patterson, we mutually agreed to part ways. Again, thank you to Matt. Coach Matt has done a great job being the first head coach in Hoosier State Instigators history. We want to wish him the best and thank him for all the time and effort he put forward into building this team. And for the future, at least currently, Corey is going to be taking over as the head coach. So we'll have our very own owner as the coach. I'm looking forward to that. Both of us are MVFs, and I know we came from the fan-controlled football scene. So fan-controlled football, different sport, obviously, but we're used to making the calls essentially. So we made all the offensive play calls for football. Now it's going to be up to Corey and to make all of our basketball play calls. We'd like to work on something in the future to get the fans involved, as far as getting. You can't. Play calls are a little bit difficult in basketball, but maybe rotations and possibly some other stuff if we can figure out exactly how and what to get fans to vote on. I know that was one of the things like when the Apex Athletic Collective was originally created, that was something we were really pushing for to get fans even more involved with the ownership aspect of sports. So it'd be really cool to see that. And it's definitely not an easy opponent that Corey gets to make his coaching debut. The Kings, I believe, as far as I can see, look to be undefeated. And they have balled out in pretty much all of their games. I know I was looking through some of their footage and stats this week as we prepare for the game. And I believe one of the games was like 202 to 88. So yeah, that was 202, over 200 points, and they held the opponents to under 100. So that game alone is very impressive. Doesn't matter what kind of level of basketball you're playing. I mean, even if that was in high school, that would be a crazy point differential. So to do that in the ABA on a professional level is very impressive. So we definitely know we've got challenge coming up this week against the Kings, and their leading scorer, um, he averages just about 50 points a game. So that's also very impressive. So we're definitely going to have to be really good on defense this week coming up. Well, actually, tomorrow. So I'll throw that back up. Yeah, tomorrow at 3. So yeah, we'll really have to clamp down on defense. I know we've added, if you didn't catch the game last week, we had 2 new additions to our roster. Decarius Millhouse, number 2, and Chris Wampler, number 10. And Zacharias got some playing time last week. I think he'll be in the rotation as well. We might see Chris Wampler in the rotation this week coming up. Um, but it was nice to get a couple of extra guys on the court. I know that was one of the things, like in some of our games, we've had either illnesses or just like minor injuries that kept players out of games for the past few weeks. It was mostly just illnesses, actually. Um, and to have the extra bodies helps us kind of give our players some rest. And you watch the NBA, like even LeBron. I mean, especially LeBron, I guess, not nowadays. He needs his rest. When you got your star players, you don't want them playing from start to finish. They got to get a little bit of a break themselves to be at the top of their game. So that is going to be another key factor, is to see how the rotation plays out this week. Um, and we've got, it's going to be a tough matchup. I think we're really going to pull together. I know we've seen this in a lot of other sports, especially like if you're watching the NFL currently. There's been a lot of coaching changes in the NFL, and it seems like just about every time they come up and replace a coach, the team kind of rallies behind them and they put out an amazing effort. Even if it's not quite a game that you would expect them to win, they either wind up winning or they're very close to pulling that off. Especially like the Raiders this season, once they fired Josh McDaniels, they've been on a roll pretty much, and they've taken out some great teams like the Chiefs. Although the Chiefs quite haven't been what they were in the past with all their woes on the offense. But we've seen a few different teams, do that, where they come out and it's just kind of like the guys pull together. Um, there's a lot on the line, not only for players, but as just, or not only for coaches, but players when something like that happens. They kind of want to show like that they belong on the team, and they're proud to be on the team. So I'm really looking forward to seeing all of our players on the Instigators kind of group together and rally around um, Corey, and hopefully we can pull out a victory. So that way he's got that on his resume as an undefeated head coach. I know that's definitely something that he and all of us in the Apex Athletic Collective could brag about, especially to our fellow FCSE family. If we could have one of our own from the FCSE as an undefeated coach in a professional sport would be pretty crazy, and that's definitely something we'll brag about if that does happen. Just to even be a professional coach is something we can already brag about. But I'm really looking forward to that game. I'll actually be making the trip out there. So if you didn't already know, I live in Florida, actually right across from the Daytona International Speedway. So um, very nice area. And it's warm down here. I'll be making the trip up to Indiana this week, tomorrow actually in the morning. And just looking at the weather, it looks like it's a little cold up there. So I gotta find some hoodies, jackets, whatnot, so that way I am prepared for this weekend and the game. Um, but I'm really looking forward to that. Every time I've made the trip out to the Clinton CRC, have not been disappointed. Um, I don't know if I'm bad luck, but I think every time that I have shown up for a game, at least so far, we have not been able to pull off a victory. But I know I've talked with several of the players in the past, and they really would like to get a victory for one of the games I come out to. I mean, I've got the logo right on the chest, so hopefully I can like flash that around. Um, if we can pull off a victory at one of these games that I am able to attend. So, but yeah, so I mean, like even or that first game, I always go back to that. I pulled up; it was packed. Uh, had a little bit of a hard time finding parking actually, and just an amazing sight to see. It's a nice like historic looking building. When I came from the airport and drove out there, it was like a nice brick building, and the inside, it's just like it has that historic feel. You know, being the Hoosier State Instigators, I feel like it's the perfect place for us to be playing at right now. It gives us kind of like an old school vibe, but we've got the new school with the streaming. We're one of the few teams that does this. We have our own show weekly, as well as stream all of our games live. Uh, we have a very good social media presence, so it's kind of a combination of everything, both the old school and the new school. And I think that's one of the great things with basketball, and the ABA especially, because we've got the 3-point shot has kind of taken over the NBA. It still plays a very dominant part in the ABA, but we also have like the 4-point play, with the 3D rule. If you hit the 3-pointer, you can also hit a 4-pointer. You can also get a dunk that's 3 points if you wind up getting a turnover. That's actually part of that 3D. um, and just like some fun rules that we have with the ABA. Also, like the foul outs are a little bit different. um, After the sixth foul, you can continue playing. Just that foul will count for additional free throws for the other team, in addition to like typically fouling out. So but I'm really looking forward to that. Always excited to make the trip out to Indiana for that, for any of our games, and even if we're away, I love making the trip out to that. Um, won't be driving this time, so I know if you follow me on social, normally I'll post my trip after I come back home here in Florida. And I think my last trip was like 26 hours round trip as far as the drive was, and that was the Louisville game. So from here to Louisville, but I'll be flying out, and then I'll be going back. I'm originally from the Northeast. I'll be spending New Year's Eve with my family up there. So uh, that's what I'll be doing this weekend. So no post as far as if you follow me on social, as with my travel time frame. It'll be a lot shorter this time. I think the flight from here to Indiana, I think Indianapolis is only like 2.5 hours, so it's much faster than driving. But I do enjoy driving. Um, but yeah, I really look forward to that game. And let's see, if you didn't catch it last time, our player of the game from 2 weeks prior was Chuck Bloom. Huge shout out to Chuck. I believe that's his first player of the game for the Instigators. 21 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists. Very solid overall effort. Um, and he's been one of our most solid guys. He's the guys voted for him to be the team captain. Anybody that gets that honor to be the team captain, is going to be one of your most solid players, and just reliable, dependable. He's the kind of guy like you're gonna go to whenever anything happens, good or bad for the team. He's kind of the guy to keep us level-headed, head down, focused on the task ahead. So, huge shout out to Chuck. Very, very glad that he was able to get our player of the game for our past game against the Louisville Pros. Um, and I believe he actually wound up having double check. I believe he had like over half of the vote for this past week or past games player of the week vote. And we'll scroll through and I'll show you some of the other guys we had nominated. AB always up there. He just puts up a monster stat line just about every game. Almost another triple double. Going back to the game against the Louisville Pros on the 17th. Um, and he had 24 points, 23 rebounds, and 9 blocks. 1 block away from that triple double. Again, you can go to the Adventure Beer Company and get yourself a double, triple double namesake drink named after AB and Dylan Ware for their abilities to put up a crazy amount of triple doubles. And that's one of many of the drinks on the Instigators playbook. We're proud to be partnered with them over there. And for all the away games, you can catch our games live at the Gator Pit in the Adventure Beer Company. Um, and just crazy to think like we kind of gloss over like this stat line. If you see this in like the NBA, if this was like a everyday stat in the NBA, this is kind of crazy. 9 blocks, almost 10 blocks a game for AB is pretty amazing to see. Over 20 rebounds, again, insane, and 20 points is, you put that all together, it's a crazy stat line. We kind of get used to it though. I'll be honest. As far as the Instigators, again, we're glad to have him as one of our anchors on our starting lineup, and every week, we can kind of count on him to put up some solid stats. I look forward to seeing what he can put out this week, and hopefully he can pull off a triple double this week coming up. Uh, the other part of that double triple double, Dylan Ware, also close to a triple double this week as well, or this past game as well. 15, 7, and 5. Very impressive. 5 steals. Steals is one of the hardest categories, I think, to get in basketball. From the time I played, I mean, I never played at this level, obviously, but 5 steals. It's really hard to get a steal without like committing a foul. So to pull off 5 is very impressive. 15.7 rebounds, solid effort there as well. I know that was also like on our end, we had a little bit of higher number of turnovers. That game against the pros, we'll recap that in just a few minutes here as well. That was a very hard fought game, and it was, very physical. And I think that was part of it. The steals, the quick changes of possession, always leads to kind of a more physical type of gameplay. So shout out to Dylan. And again, another guy that's been on here as a nominee just about every week since he's joined the team is Lawan Swish Whitney. 13.6 rebounds and 3 assists. A little bit lower side on the points compared to what we've seen from Swish in the past, but another solid effort. He's the kind of guy like every week you can just expect him to hit a few threes. So he's every week just balls out as far as that goes. Um, I think he had what 25, 25, and 27, if I remember his first three games. So hopefully he can pull that off again for this upcoming game against the Ohio Kings. Um, but he's if you've been voting for the Instigators polls and picks in the FCSE app, very often we normally throw a pick in there for either his points or his 3 pointers. And I think normally we put him at like 4.5 3 pointers, and he's hit the over just about every time. I think this week or this past game he might have hit the under for maybe his first time. So those were our player of the game nominees. Again, Chuck Bloom was our winner for player of the game this past game. And that game was against the Louisville Pros. That was against the Pros on December 17th. That was the second time we've played the Pros. The first time we played them was the game that went into overtime. That was our first overtime game. It was 98 to 102. Again, another very physical game. This past game, the 17th, was at our home court, the Clinton CRC. Um, and that the same effort carried over from the game in Louisville to the game in Clinton. Just very physical. I think these are some of our lower scoring games. I know the 98 to 102, that was our lowest scoring game, and I believe the lowest point total overall in an Instigators game this season so far. But the Pros, every time we've played them, has been a very physical, kind of defensive minded team. And we had, like I said, a lot of turnovers this past week um, because of that. But I think it's a start of a great rivalry, but a friendly rivalry, not like anything crazy. Looking forward to our future in the ABA. I think the games against the Pros, they're going to be some of the most physical games that we have on the schedule. I know our game against the Lions was also a very physical game, and we've got a few more games against the Lions coming up. Um, Again, the Lions have been the number one ranked team in the ABA for, I believe, the whole season, and they were co-champions the past year, and they've been a champion in the past few years in the ABA as well. Yeah, it looks like so the 20th of January, we're going to finish out our 5-game home stretch against the Lions. And as far as I can see, our last game of the season looks like it's actually an away game on February 25th against the Lions as well. So still got a few more matchups, and that actually, I believe, lines up. So we have 3 games against the Lions. So we'll be able to actually name like a winner of that series, which is going to be pretty cool. We had a very close game against them last time. So if we can pull off the next 2 games, we'd actually have a winning record against the number 1 team in the ABA, which would be pretty cool. The Kings are another team, the team that we're playing tomorrow. We have 2 matchups against them, so could split the series in theory. But they're another team that is consistently highly ranked in the ABA power rankings. They are undefeated as far as I can see. And I'll get that graphic back up for this game coming up tomorrow. They are undefeated as far as I could see, 5-0, and I believe have their average points right over here on the side. I was doing some research on that. Their average points per game is a whopping 158.8, so almost 160 points per game this season is pretty crazy. And they're only allowing just about 107.6. So that's a pretty significant difference. That's over 50 points as far as differential in their average points per game compared to their points allowed per game. In comparison, the Instigators, we're still actually averaging more points per game than points allowed per game. So we're averaging 117.7 points per game and allowing 116.7. So we're still averaging 1 more point per game than we're allowing. Unfortunately, our record just hasn't been showing that. And I know that it might be skewed a little bit from one of our first wins. We did have a very large margin of win in that, but still, we're averaging more points than we allow. So on the season, we've scored more points than we have allowed. Um, and even though our record might be 2-5, we're still a very solid team. And you know, you score more than you allow, you're gonna win. So if we can have our average for both points scored and allowed, we'd wind up winning games. So that's a cool little statistical insight for this game tomorrow here against the Ohio Kings. And I think that is pretty much just about everything I had planned as far as discussing tonight. Again, our game is tomorrow at 3. If you're in Indiana or anywhere close to Clinton, Indiana, feel free to make the trip out. And even if you're not, if you're like me, do you feel like going from Florida to Indiana, even though it's much colder up there? Definitely come out to the Clinton CRC. We'll definitely look forward to seeing you as the Hoosier State Instigators welcome the Ohio Kings tomorrow at 3 p.m., and that's in Eastern Standard Time. I believe Clinton is still in the Eastern time zone. Indiana has a bunch of different time zones. I know we've discussed that in the past here on Instigate Success. And the first game I went to when I flew into Chicago, I learned that Chicago is in a different time zone. It's an hour difference as far as compared to Clinton. And it almost threw a wrench in my game time arrival for the first game. So if you're in a different time zone, again, that's 3 p.m. Eastern, and the doors open to the Clinton CRC at 2 p.m. Eastern. Again, we are doing our promo. Children 12 and under can get in for free. And let me double check. Believe that is. See. Yeah, children get in for free, 12 and under. Just want to make sure I had that age correct. It is 12 and under. They're in free tomorrow at the Clinton CRC. Again, if you can make it out there. And those children 12 and under get to go out on the court at halftime and take some shots on the court. It's always a fun time at the venue. I look forward to seeing all of you who are able to make it out there. Um, Thank you to everybody who supports us. And I'm really looking forward again to see how Corey does in his first game as the head coach. We're going to have interim coach Frosty on the sideline tomorrow in the Clinton CRC. Really looking forward to seeing that. And I'm sure our camera will be focused on the court, and I'm sure he'll make some appearances as far as that goes in the game stream tomorrow. We'll be live here on Patreon for everybody that streams our game typically. Again, that game's going to be at 3. We'll probably be up around 3, maybe 2:45 if I had to take a guess, and with a little bit of a pregame, and then we'll get the tip off at 3, and hopefully we get the tip at 3. I know some of our games in the past, especially our away games, we tell you guys one time and it's a little bit later, but 3 o'clock is definitely what we're aiming for, and we typically get things set up at that time. So catch us tomorrow at 3 p.m. for the game against the Kings. Nice way to end the 2023 year. I hope everybody has had an amazing 2023 and they have an amazing start to the 2024 year. This will be our final game of 2023. Season still continues into 2024. We still got a few months left of the season, so it's not like it's our last game or anything as far as the season goes. It's just for the calendar year. So we'll be hopefully able to close out the calendar year with a nice win. And Then the day after, you guys can go celebrate New Year's Eve. Some family, friends, have a nice time, and hopefully you can talk about the Instigators' victory with Frosty at the helm against the Ohio Kings. Everybody have a happy New Year's and be safe. Look forward to you guys. Think we're back for the moment. I think the headphones cut out for a second. Until then, be great, instigate, and have a happy new year.